say he lived in that suit for all every day. Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Don Kraus, and this seminar we're dealing with weight problems, how to overcome them. And first we need to define weight problems, and then we need to look at the cause of weight problems, and then we want to see how we can help the body overcome them. One of the first things I want you to realize is that a weight problem is not a fat problem. Fat don't weigh nothing. All right? Weight problem is not a fat or a calorie problem. Now you're going to listen close to make sure that I'm right in this. But most people say, Don, I don't like that many calories, you know, I don't eat that many calories and stuff like that, and I don't lose any weight. I mean, I don't eat nothing, I don't lose any weight. And then, so some people think it's a food problem. Weight problem is a food problem. But you know people don't eat nothing. They don't lose weight. And you know a lot of people that eat, and they don't gain weight. And the overweight person says, ooh, I wish I was that way. Wish I could eat anything and never gain weight. But as you'll learn in this seminar, it's better to be overweight if you're eating wrong than underweight if you're eating wrong. You're apt to have more serious problems being underweight and having some problems with the foods. So when we talk about weight problems, we're not going to be talking about fat or calories. And I get more complaints from people underweight than overweight. And again, the reason is because we think of food, food, food. So another statement I want to make is that it's not a fat or calorie problem, weight problems, it's a water problem. All right? That's another thing I'm going to prove to you in this seminar, that a weight problem is a water problem. It's a water distribution problem. And when you think about it a minute, you can see that when you squeeze all the water out of our body, you know what your weight was going to be? I mean the water even out of your bones. Maybe 5% of your weight is going to be left when we squeeze all the water out. So if you weigh 200 pounds, you'd weigh 10 pounds when we got all the water out. Some people say, Don, overnight I gained 5-10 pounds. Well, you sure wouldn't get that much fat overnight. And you couldn't eat that many calories that weighed that much overnight. See, water is the weight problem. So we want to talk about why we're having water problems. Now, another statement I'll make here that'll help you appreciate what fat is. Fat is liquid oil. In other words, the fat that's in your body is just oil that started out as oil in your body, then it became fat. Even if you ate fat in your foods, it would break down into an oil through digestion or cooking, and then it would become solid. So since fat is really oil, we won't ever call people fat anymore, just oily. Now remember that. There's no such thing as a fat person. So if they got too much fat, they're just too oily. All right? But water is the weight problem. Fat, you can take lots of fat if there's no water in it, and it'll float on any water surface. Isn't that not right? If you take a piece of meat and boil it in water and stick it in the freezer, where are you going to find the fat? On top. Fat's light. Fat don't weigh nothing. It's the water in the fat. It's the water in the muscles. It's the water stored in the tissues. That's the weight problem. All right? So again, like all symptoms that we have, and weight problem is just one of those symptoms, whether it's allergies or cancer or whatever. The cause is loss of vitality. All right? And there's two basic laws that we are breaking that leads to all the different symptoms, including this weight problem. And your vitality is supposed to be 100% no matter what your age. You're supposed to get 200 years out of your body. And in order to do that, you've got to learn to put as much energy in as you're taking out. That's one of the laws of health and vitalness. And one of the main ways that we prevent weakness, sickness, and disease, or weight problems, which is our specific subject in this seminar. Now we take energy in through breathing, rest, water, and food. We take it out through stress, work, digestion of our foods, and elimination. So you've got to put in as much energy as you're taking out. If you've taken too much out, you've got to put more in to catch up in order to get your vitality back to where it should be in order to overcome weakness, sickness, and disease, or this weight problem. The other law, your vitality is equal to this potential, which is this 120 years. These reserves must last you 120 years. You also have to keep your body free of obstructions. And our main concern with weight problems is obstructions. All right? Some other problems have more to do with the reserves being low. But weight problems is mostly an obstruction problem. All right? But it has to do with not having enough water in some cases too. But obstructions we define as anything that interferes with the circulation of the blood. Your vitalness comes from the ability of your blood to pick up the breath of life. That's what Adam received from his Creator that made him alive, made him a living soul, made him alive, was the breath of life. So the blood carries that breath of life. Obstructions are things that we allow into our body that don't belong in there, or they might be there because of the chemical reactions that's going on in our body, and they should be eliminated, but they're not being eliminated. And so what happens is that because they're not being eliminated, they're being stored somewhere in the body, and that blocks the circulation of the blood wherever that storage is taking place. And that's where then the body begins to lose vitality in that particular area. And that could be any part of your body could be obstructed, but other parts not. So you could be overweight one place in your body and not in another. Or you could be underweight in one place of your body and not in another place. So obstructions is the main cause of the weight problems. And again, the weight problem can manifest itself on gaining a lot of inches. Now, let me distinguish between weight problem and size. Some people gain inches, but not necessarily weight. In other words, due to gas and pressure problems that are don't have anything to do with fluids, they deal with gas pressure. So some people have high pressure from a gas. When you read in the medical or doctor, they'll say, you have too much fluid. You need to understand when someone says, from a medical standpoint, you have too much fluids, they're talking about water or gas. And a lot of times when they say fluid, they're not talking about liquid. They're talking about gas. All right? So always keep that You want to ask, well, you talking about too much gas? See, a lot of times these doctors want to say, well, you're just gassy. See, got fluid buildup, well, your gas buildup, see. You got fluid on the lungs, well, your gas buildup on your lungs. Doesn't mean you're full of water or some type of liquid, you see. That's a lot of times what we think you need. A lot of times we don't understand words and what I think a word means might be different than what you think. So that's why we have communication problems. So you always have to ask people before you get mad at them because you disagree with them. Make sure you understand what they mean by that word, because it's different than what you think it means or been taught that it means. And so that's the difference in your opinions, not that you have different ideas or opinions, but the words that you're using to express it have different meanings for you, and so we have a communication problem. All right? Sometimes we have to define, especially if you're ever going to work with a lawyer or laws, you better find out what they mean by their definitions or you're in trouble, real quick. And that's true in medical, that's true in the health field. As it relates to what is a food, what is organic, what is natural. You need to know what they mean by those terms, or you could be eating sand because it's natural. All right? So when we're talking about weight problems, see, we're talking about something that increases or decreases the overall weight based on your structure. And so when we're dealing with weight, water is it. All right? So we want to talk about some of the different symptoms of weight problems that people complain about, or they look big. But again, we need to make sure that they're not talking about gas, because a lot of people can lose inches, and a lot of people do lose inches before they lose weight sometimes, because gas will kind of keep you having weight problems too. We'll keep that weight on there too, because it interferes with circulation, because it's a pressure problem. Gas is. But water can cause that too. So water can cause, depends on where the water's storing. Like you have swelling anywhere in your body would be a weight problem. So if your feet are swelling, that's a weight problem in your feet. If your hands are swelling, that's a weight problem in your hands. If you were to take your hands, and it's not gas now, and you weigh it when it's not swelling, just lay it on go to the butcher or something and say, I want you to weigh my hand. And then go and weigh it again, and when it's swelling, it'll weigh more because there's more water in there. So you're overweight in your hand. You can be overweight in your eyes. If water builds up in there, it's not gas pressure, but it's water pressure, then you'd be overweight in your eyes, and that can cause a lot of eye problems. All right? You can see where this is going, can't you? Say, water can build up anywhere in your body. You can have bunches in here. You can have a bunch in your tissues of your colon, and your colon be swollen. Did you ever see anybody get the big head? It's possible to get too much water in the head. A lot of children are born, what do they call it, Down syndrome? Or they have a name for it, but they got water in the brain. They call it water on the brain. And so it's swollen, So there's different parts of your body that can have lots of extra water. But a lot of people don't have enough water. Their cells and tissues don't have enough water. Now, to understand how our body uses water and to more understand the problem of weight, the cells that make up your body have no water in them. They have no air in them. In other words, every individual cell of your body has a negative vacuum in it. It's like you take a balloon and you suck all of the air out of it, plus. That's negative vacuum. All your cells are running in a vacuum. The blood flows around, which the blood is where you carry most of your water, is in the blood. All right? You're supposed to have very little water in your tissues anyways, and your cells don't have any. And the cells make up your tissues, so you don't have any moisture there, see, except where it goes around through the capillaries. Now, the way the water distributes itself around through your body is that as you breathe, you push the blood through your heart, out through your arteries, and back through your veins, back into the other side of the heart, back into the other lung, and then it just keeps going through your lungs and your arteries and veins all the time. Then from the veins and arteries, it moves into the capillaries. You've got like a tree effect here. And it moves into these areas, and you've got all these little corpuscles then that are connected to the arteries as they're going through all the different parts of your body. And you got big, you bunch up there, you got some big veins and arteries in there that carry the blood from the heart to the different parts of the body. And as you're breathing, see, you're picking this air up that's carrying it around. And the water, of course, is there with the blood. But the blood never goes into your cells. Not supposed to. All right? The cells absorb like osmosis. They absorb by diffusion the nutrients that it needs out of the blood, like a magnet. And it's mainly nitrogen in your cells. They're like a magnet. Water is in the body, stay in the body. That don't take place until those cells start holding on to water. In other words, something causes there to be a leak between the cells and the blood capillaries particularly. And something breaks in there and takes water into those cells and starts drowning them. Now, if that does it in just one part of your body, you just have a swelling there, like swollen fingers or feet or toes. But some people that happens in a whole big segment of their body. For example, their legs get real big. So all of their legs stay waterlogged. Poor circulation, of course, takes place when you're overweight anywhere in your body. But it's water being pulled into the tissues. And the tissue starts swelling, and that blocks off the circulation of the blood eventually, is what happens to that area. And of course, there's poor circulation then. So that's your overweight problem. We're going to talk about what causes that, but that's what's happening. Is that in the cells that are supposed to be dry and have maybe a little humidity in there, but be very low even then, but no pressure. Zilch pressure. That's what it should be. And the only water then is what's being carried through the blood system and through the capillaries as it goes through your whole body. Okay? And that's the overweight problem. Isn't that simple? Now, the underweight. The underweight person could have swollen cells, okay, but not be overweight. This is a possibility. And a lot of people are trying to lose weight and keep their weight down. And this is, sometimes they got swollen cells, but they're lowering the water content. In other words, the water content that's traveling through the blood is not enough. And usually that's due to the body being too contracted, or there's too much pressure pushing in on the body that won't let the body expand or its cells stretch and relax enough to hang on to enough water. Or it just keeps them squeezing that water out. And so their body doesn't maintain enough water for circulation as a result of that, see, which can cause some underweight problems. Okay? So we want to know what causes the body to be too restricted that it won't pick up enough water. Now normally your water weight should be 75% of your weight. Normally about 75% of the, not going to the extreme of squeezing out every drop. But the water that's used for transporting and cleaning, you know, you need a little extra for the kidneys to have to help the bladder get the bad guys out. You need a little extra water for keeping your skin cool if you get hot, or to, you know, to pull and vaporize things out through your skin. You need a little extra water for talking and things like that, okay? And so some of those areas have a priority. They got to have it, or you can't. For example, I get low in water, then my voice starts cracking and I can't talk. It's hard for me to get enough water. And I have to have enough for the kidneys and then enough for the skin. If the humidity gets too low, then I have to, every breath I take my body has to give up water to bring that humidity up so I can talk. So if I talk with 50% humidity, then I don't have to add any more. But if I'm talking at 40% humidity, then I have to drink more in order to talk, or I'll get dry and then I can't talk. All right? So it's a tough thing to keep that water balance in our body because of our lifestyles. But that's our weight problem. And some people that are underweight, they're just not drinking enough water. But some people that are overweight are not drinking enough water. So you could be underweight or overweight, and not drink enough water. And then there's the kind of water you're drinking will have a lot to do with your weight and how your body handles your water weight or keeps your weight balanced. So we want to talk a little bit about that aspect of it. But underweight is more of a problem with not getting enough water. There's not enough room for the water to flow through your body like it should. And that is potentially more dangerous than someone gaining water weight and storing it in the hips or the legs or some place like that, because it's a way that the body can deal with these obstructions. Because when you're not getting it out, then it's being stored someplace. And if you're overweight, it's storing it out here. If you're underweight, it's having to store it in your vital organs. Arteries, your heart, your lung, maybe even your brain. So a lot of people that go on these diets to lose weight, they're taking the water, salt water toxins, the obstructions, what we call obstructions, which is anything that interferes with circulation of blood, and they're forcing it out of the warehousing place, storage place, And they're, instead of getting it out of the body by dealing with the reason for the water retention, they're dehydrating themselves and concentrating the cause of the weight problem and forcing that into the tissues. So as soon as they go off that crash diet or that whatever, comes right back again, see, if the body has a choice. Because it would rather be out here than in here if we're not going to get rid of the cause of the water retention or seepage into the cells where it's supposed to be negative pressure. See, those cells will die if they're waterlogged or they don't get enough oxygen or nutrition. So they'll die either way. So we need to help our body get what it needs, say, to keep the water where it should be. Now, again, we're just trying to define what's going on here when there is a weight problem. The hypothalamus gland, which is up in your head, works with your pituitary to regulate the water in your body. Okay? So if your hypothalamus is not doing its job, then you won't be able to do it. That could be one of the causes, besides not having enough water or the right kind of water. All right? So that's a consideration that we need to keep in mind. The main minerals that balance your water is sodium, potassium. Sodium likes water, so it maintains the amount of water that's flowing through your body. Potassium don't like water. And your potassium is supposed to be very high in your cells, where you have a negative vacuum. All right? What if sodium gets into the cells instead of potassium? So it's an imbalance of the sodium and potassium in your cells and outside of your cells that is the main reasons for this weight problem. All right? So that's one of it's a mechanism. The hypothalamus is supposed to take care, but if it don't have enough sodium, potassium, or too much sodium, not enough potassium, then it can't do its job. So we got a weight problem, let's see. Now, another thing we need to look at as far as weight is underweight people tend to be people that have eaten too much protein. This protein is highly acid, and too much protein turns to uric acid, like when you get over 25 grams of protein a day if you're a big person, 15 if you're a small person. Then the rest of the grams, which the average diet is 105